Hello everyone, in this video we will be going over what exactly a special immigrant juvenile status means, and how to figure out if your client is applicable for residency, and more important, what happens when they do or do not. Okay, this first part is you can ignore it if you would like to, but it is just a table of contents if for whatever reason you feel lost or you want to reference back to a specific detail without having to rewatch the entire video. You can just go ahead and refer back to this first part of it, and then to the right are the slide numbers, and when I skip over to the next tab, that is going to be the first slide. So you can go ahead and reference this if you need to. Before understanding the mechanism behind the process, it's important to understand specific terminology that will be repeatedly used throughout the duration of this video. To start off, SIJS stands for Special Immigrant Juvenile Status, and what this essentially means is that certain immigrant youth who cannot be reunified with one or both parents due to abandonment or neglect, or it is not in their best interest to return to their home country, may have the possibility of obtaining a green card to remain legally inside the United States. Up until 2016, unfortunately, visas began to run out, and those entering from Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and even India began to experience a backlog. Another important key term to mention is the USCIS, which stands for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. And this is the government agency that is responsible for overseeing and processing immigration and naturalization applications. So this right here is the first initial homepage and what it looks like. And then SIJS, anything related to that can be found in this website. So these two go together. Okay. And then when you actually go ahead and proceed to file for this type of status, you are going to first start with filing the form I-360. And this is very important, and I'm going to explain why shortly. So this is what it looks like, and then this is what you fill out, and then this right here, right below it, is the form I-45, and this is the form that you proceed to file if this one gets approved, and this one is actually responsible for the adjustment of your client's status. And then these two right here are the links that you can go ahead and use if need be to find the actual applications. Now that we have gone over some important key terms, we will now be transitioning over to the first initial step that the client must carefully look out for, and that is the final action date or the priority date. These terms can be used interchangeably also. So in order to find out the client's priority date, you have to refer back to the I-360. Sometimes you don't remember exactly when you file, and that's okay. You can just refer back to the receipt notice, and then that's whenever the date that it was filed, that is the same day that your priority date it's needed for the next step. So, but if you need help finding it, you can also find it here specifically in this part of the form that once you filed. So this is what it looks like right there. But something that you should greatly advise your client is that final action dates sometimes retrogress and are not 100% fixated. You cannot guarantee your client that once a visa is available, that it will remain so. And then, so make sure to find the date, because this date is going to matter a whole lot in proceeding to the next step of whether or not your client can actually file for the I-485. As stated previously, the form I-360 contains a final action date or priority date. This date is important because in the next step I'm going to show you, you have to figure out if that date is current. If it is current, your client can then move on to file the I-45, which is responsible for adjusting their status. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to actually locate something called the visa bulletin, and how you can go ahead and use that in conjunction with your I-360 to find out if their date is current. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start this video. Okay, so we're going to type up the visa bulletin online, and then we're going to go ahead and search that part up, and then it should be the first link that pops up. We're going to go ahead and click on it. Mine automatically shows up the visa bulletin, but in some instances it may not, and I'm going to show you what the home page looks like and how to access it. So if it doesn't, this is what the homepage looks like. There are a whole lot of different links and resources that you can go ahead and use related to consular affairs, such as adoption, international travel, passports, but we are specifically looking for the U.S. visas. So there's a whole lot of different things related to visas, employment, study exchange, immigration, but we are looking for the visa bulletin, which is going to be all the way down. So go ahead and scroll and scroll. At the very, very bottom, you should find something called the visa bulletin. You're going to go ahead and click on that link, and automatically leads you to this month's current visa bulletin as well as the upcoming ones, so you can kind of give an idea of what it's looking like for priority dates. So we're going to click this month's priority date, and there's a whole lot of different information, but we are specifically looking for employment-based preferences. And this is what it looks like. So we're going to find that category specifically right there. And we are going to be looking specifically at chart A. This is what the chart A looks like. Final action dates for employment-based preferences cases. Again, we are going to be looking at the 4th category for special immigrant juvenile statuses. So that's going to be very important, the 4th category, as well as the top, which shows your client's country of origin. So that is going to be very, very important to look out for, 4th category, and locating their country of origin. At the very bottom is chart B, which almost looks identical to the first one, but it is responsible dates for filing. So we're going to go again here, 4th category, and then again, your client's country of origin. But however, I will explain a little bit later why we will start off with chart A and not automatically with chart B. And I will explain that right now and why that is important to look out for. Like I had stated, the visa bulletin contains 2 different charts. Chart A is responsible for final action dates, while chart B is responsible for dates for filing. However, whenever you are explaining to a client how to find out if their priority is current, you are going to be specifically focusing on chart A first, automatically, without a doubt. In some cases, you can use chart B, but it's not always reliable. And I will explain a little bit later in this video what happens if it is and if it isn't, and how to determine so if you are able to utilize chart B. Okay, so this is what we saw previously in the video. And this is something what chart A looks like, and how I had already stated you are going to look. Sorry, this kind of moved a little bit, but it should be focused on the 4th category that you're going to be locating for. You're going to, again, look at your client's country of origin. And then if a letter C appears, so this chart doesn't show a C, but if we're looking at, this is exactly this, another chart A, but this is referencing June 2020's visa bulletin chart A, and this is this month's August 2024. So in this one, as you can see, there is a letter C present, and if this letter appears, that means that your client's filing date is current and they may proceed to file for I-45. If, however, a date is present, that means that there is a backlog, and it's important to note to them that when a backlog exists, it's impossible to predict when the client will be able to adjust their status. Now, besides that backlog existing, they have to make sure that the date they filed their I-360 is earlier than the date listed on the chart. That is very important. If it is not earlier than the date that appears on the chart, they cannot move forward to proceed the I-45. So the next slide over, I'm going to show you 2 different scenarios in which a client is able to file and when an instance where they are not able to file for the I-45. Okay, I'm going to start off with the example first to my left where the cursor is pointing at. So in this case, I'm going to explain a little bit about this client. So her name is Susana. She is from Mexico, and she has filed an SIJS based I-360 with USCIS on May 12, 2021. Her I-360 has been approved, and she would like to now move forward with the application to adjust her status. Can she do so based on the chart above? So like I said, this is her priority, May 12, 2021. She is from Mexico. So remember, we're going to go ahead and look back to the 4th category. We're going to look at which country she's from. She indicated that she was from Mexico. So we are going to find right in the middle between the 4th category and Mexico where they join together. And for that particular month, she had to have filed before January 1st of 2021. She filed May 12th. Is this date earlier than this date? It is not. Therefore, she cannot file her form I-45 at this time because the category her visa will come from is backlogged, and her priority date falls after the January 1st date. So she cannot file for it yet. And now we're going to move forward and talk about this example over here. So again, this is referencing the June 2020 visa bulletin of Chart A. So in this case, Mariano is from El Salvador and has filed an SIJS-based I-360 with USCIS on August 12th of 2016. His I-360 has been approved and now would like to apply for a green card. According to the above chart, can he file for the form I-45? So again, we're going to look at the fourth category. He is from El Salvador, so we're going to find where they joined together, and it is a specific date right here. He had to have filed this application before December 15, 2016. He filed on August 12, 2016, and it looks like this date that he filed is earlier than the date posted on the bulletin, so he can go ahead and move forward with filing the I-45. Now, even though he is experiencing a backlog of visas, his priority date is still current, so he can actually go ahead and move forward and file for the I-45. Again, it's impossible to know when the status of his application is going to be set and when he's actually able to obtain a green card, but I'm going to show you in a little bit why filing for the I-45 still greatly matters despite there being a backlog. Before moving forward and explain to a client why the I-485 still matters despite there being a backlog, I'm going to actually show you one more thing that they should look out for, and that is Chart B. As I stated before, the visa bulletin automatically contains both charts. However, in some cases, Chart B is actually not applicable to use for that month. So the visa bulletin updates every month, and sometimes it is very specific on which chart they want the clients to look out for. And in this video right here, I'm going to show you how to look for what to look out for in the visa bulletin website to see if the chart is able to be utilized for that month. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and play it. We're going to look up the visa bulletin again online. This is what it looks like. And then again, I'm going to show you initially from the home page. And look up visa bulletins. Remember, we're going to scroll all the way down where the visa shows up. Check the visa bulletin. We're going to go ahead and click on that right there. And then we are going to look for the current visa bulletin. You can look at the next upcoming one, but we're specifically going to be focusing on this month's one. Now, instead of scrolling all the way down to the bottom, there should be a link that appears pretty soon on. It is this one right here. You can click on it, and it is going to direct you to an external link. You're going to click on the button that says Go, and then it says right here, Adjustment of Status Filing, and you're going to look for the current month's adjustment status filing charts. And remember, we are looking for employment-based preference filings. You can also look at the next month's one, but we're specifically going to look at the current month's. So under the category employment-based preference filings, it says for this particular month, you must use the final action dates chart in the Department of State Visa Bulletin for August 2024. It says the exact same thing also for September of 2024, which is the upcoming month. That means that you cannot reference Chart B for this month and the next month. Your client has to rely on Chart A to be able to find out if their priority date is current or not. If the Chart B is not applicable, then they have to consistently look back and look and file again for the form I-360 until they find a priority date that they can go ahead and move forward with. Like I said, the visa bulletin consistently changes every month, and there are going to be some instances where Chart B is applicable. And if it is, it will show up on, instead of it just saying the first part of you can only use you're only responsible for using final action dates, it'll say something like go ahead and also use dates per filing or something like that. So when that happens, that means you are good to go on Chart B. And then how to actually use Chart B, it is exactly the same way as you use Chart A. So we're going to look at the fourth category, and we're going to reference your client's country of origin. So depending on where they are from, you're going to find the cross between both fourth category and the country of origin, and utilize that date to find out if their priority date was filed, their I-360, was filed before that date. So again, if a C appears on their slot, they're good to go. If not, use the day on the day your I-360 was filed. So remember, if there is a date present here, there is still a backlog of visas. However, if their priority days earlier and they're able to move forward with filing for the I-45. The benefit of waiting in the meantime to find out when they're going to adjust status is that they will be able to obtain work authorization and a government issued form of an ID, which is also very important because while they wait in the meantime, they can go ahead and start working, and they're able to have an ID to be presented at in this country. So that is very, very, very important to advise your client that even though that there is going to be a wait, if they're good to go to move forward with that application, they still get something in return while they wait. So this next and final slide here are some of the next steps that you can advise your client to do while they wait. The first one we're going to start is right here on the left side. So they can go ahead and file the I-360 the same day that the state court findings are made, if possible. A few days difference could make a difference considering that their filing date is responsible for securing their client's place online for a visa. And remember, there is no limit on the number of I-360s that can be filed. They can consistently keep on filing, checking back to the visa bulletin, and just waiting. And I know it is a long wait game, but try to file as soon as you can. Around the 15th of every month, the next visa bulletin is typically posted online, so be on the lookout and be ready to file the I-45 if you see that your client's visa will be current in the coming month. So it's a constant waiting game, but also just keep on checking back, file consistently the I-360 and check back to the visa bulletin every month if you can. If your client is able to file the I-45 because their filing day is earlier than the date present on the chart, remind them that there is still a backlog of visas, but by filing the I-45, they will be able to obtain work authorization and a government-issued form of ID. These are some just extra precautions that you should advise your client, of course, and that is to remain under state jurisdiction until the I-45 is adjudicated, unless, of course, they age out and turn 21 and over. Your client should not marry until the I-45 is adjudicated. If they do so, their I-360 approval will be revoked. Interaction with the criminal or juvenile system may cause them to run the risk of becoming inadmissible. And advise them that while their visa is or will be backlogged, there are other additional resources or other forms of relief like U visas. Those are set aside to help law enforcement. Those are for those who are helpful to law enforcement or government officials in the investigation and prosecution of criminal activity they themselves have also been victims of. A T visa they can apply for, and those are set aside for those who are helpful to, again, government officials in the detection, investigation, or prosecution of acts of trafficking, and they themselves have also been a victim of human trafficking. Or the VAWA, which stands for the Violence Against Women Act and allows for abused spouses, children of U.S. citizens, or lawful permanent residents and abused parents of U.S. citizen sons or daughters to apply for immigration relief separate from the abusive family member. So like I said, there are additional resources they can go ahead and utilize to their advantage. Consistently check back with your client that they are on top, as well as that they hold their end of the bargain in checking the visa bulletin and checking their priority date to make sure that those remain hand in hand. If there are any other questions that are needed to be asked, you can refer back to the SIJS website, and there should be a great plenitude of resources to be able to utilize as well. Thank you.